Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Lindsay Weitzel and the Heads Up podcast, the weekly podcast of the National Headache Foundation. I'm a migraine strategist. I am a chronic daily migraine survivor, and I am the founder of the Facebook group Migraine Nation. I am super excited to be here today. I've been looking forward to this episode. It's a very positive and fun episode. I am here with the executive director of Miles For Migraine. This is Shirley Kessel. Hi, Shirley. How are you?
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. So we have a lot of super fun and cool stuff to tell everyone about Miles for Migraine that I bet you guys don't know. Miles for Migraine actually impacts our lives directly in really great ways as people with migraine. So I have a lot of things that I want to pick Shirley's brain about. So everybody get comfortable and listen to what she has to say. She's also a super cool person and has even led some like meditation workshops and stuff that I've done. So there's a lot about Shirley that people don't know. So Shirley, can you start by telling us what made you want to work in the migraine community to begin with?
Well, I had no idea that I was going to end up doing this. So it wasn't something I chose to do. It found me. My daughter, Sydney, I have three daughters and two have migraine. And when my youngest one got diagnosed, we were sitting in the doctor's office and she said, "Mom, we got to do something about this. They're giving me medicines they gave you 25 years ago and you're so old." So, we just went and we found the race. It was started in San Francisco and we brought to Philadelphia, and the rest is history.
Wow. Okay. So I was going to say, when and why was Miles for Migraine started? What else can you tell us about it besides that story, which is an awesome story, by the way?
Right. Well, people assume that I am the founder, but I am not. So Eileen Jones, who lives in San Francisco, is a nurse, and she is really a visionary. Back in about 2005 or six, she went to Headache on the Hill. She was
Mm-hmm.
one of the first people to go, and the Congress people basically said to her, "Well, if you want to make a difference in migraine, you have to do something yourself," because at that time there was barely any advocates going to Headache on the Hill, and nobody understood. Of course, a lot of people still don't understand what a serious impact migraine has on people's lives. And so she went back to San Francisco and she started the first Miles for Migraine race in 2008, and it stayed in San Francisco. She had plans to expand it, but back in 2008 there was not a lot happening in the migraine field, and so she didn't have the funding to move forward. And when we came and knocked on her door and said, "We want to bring the race to Philadelphia," she said, "I don't think you know what you're getting yourselves into." And she was right. We had the first race in 2013, and all we did was we just got a bunch of people. We got a team, and we piggybacked onto the Philly Marathon. So we all ended up just showing up with t-shirts on, and it was a 5 miler. And I am not a runner
Oh,
anymore because migraine has impacted my life so significantly that I used to run, but I don't now.
mm-hmm.
And so I ended up walking and jogging 5 miles. It was quite a day to remember. And from there, we just said, we got to do this. We have to expand it. And Eileen has been very supportive, and she has, backed everything that we've done. She's on our board. So that's basically how we got started, and
All right.
how we're gonna keep going. Oh, and an interesting story. So the logo that we have
Right.
is a walking brain. And
Uh-huh.
just recently I was having a conversation with her and I said, "How did you come up with that logo? I mean, it's fun." At first when
Yeah.
I saw it, I wasn't quite sure if I liked it, but she said, "Well, I wanted something that would be fun and it also would be indicative of the Grateful Dead, like keep on trucking." So, you know, she is she's a baby boomer.
I
So
did not expect you to say that. That is a
yeah,
story.
we were laughing. What a great idea. I mean, the logo's fun. It's a little quirky, but that's the whole idea. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be quirky and get your attention.
Yes. Well, that is a very inspirational story. None of us, I bet most of us did not know how Miles for Migraine got started. So I was going to ask how you got involved with the organization. You've pretty much told us. Do you want to add to that at all? I think you've told us.
Well, I started as a volunteer, and
Uh-huh.
you know, I have to say it sounds odd, but when I've been affected by migraine from the day I was born. I have a mother who was severely impacted, and I watched from afar as my mother would spend 3 or 4 days in bed.
Yeah.
And I'm the oldest of three siblings, and I would be taking care of my siblings, and my father didn't understand, and he would get in a really bad mood.
Hmm.
And so I inherited migraine,
Yep.
but no one explained to me back when I was in my 20s and I became chronic. The doctor never said, well, if you want to have a cure one day, then you need to speak up and start
Right.
doing something because no one's advocating for this disease.
Mm.
And it wasn't until my own daughter ended up dropping out of high school because she was so debilitated. I mean, it totally impacted my family. It tore us all apart. I mean, there's so many stories behind it. And I said, we're going to do this race. I don't care what it takes. We're going to do this. And so we did the first race, and I went out, I had to find a race director, and it was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of positive impact. So at that time, I thought, oh, I'll just be doing a race in Philadelphia for the rest of my life if I can.
Right.
And then people kept saying, you got to take this to other cities. Like, we need this.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, okay, well, I'll try it. And we went to 3 cities, then to 5, then to 12, and now we're at 18.
It's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I think that many of the people watching this are going to be able to relate to that story. I got mine from my father. I watched him struggle. I had it, I don't have a memory without migraine. But I wasn't diagnosed till I was 17. So, I mean, it is so hard on families. And I think that everyone's going to love hearing that you did this for your family. You did it as a family. And it's a very inspirational, awesome story. Um,
Thanks.
so I believe, it's my understanding that Miles for Migraine is the only nonprofit organization that holds races. Is this true?
So there is another small nonprofit
Okay.
called Running for Research,
Okay.
and we work collaboratively. So actually, what's very exciting
Hmm.
is that together we will be having a joint race at the American Headache Society meeting
Oh.
uh, in Scottsdale this year. And so Dave Watson is the founder, and his model is different than ours. He tends to go into smaller towns, and it's more of a do-it-yourself type of event, so he can keep the cost down.
Hmm.
And Miles for Migraine is like, it's got just more bells and whistles, and it costs more. So,
Hmm.
but but we're the largest one. They're in 4 cities, and so we're trying to spread out around the country. So,
Okay.
plenty of cities that we will probably, I don't know, I hope one day we get to them all. That's really the goal.
um, so where do the profits for the race end up going?
Right. So, so generally speaking, the profits go to research. But when you say research, people are like, well, what does that mean?
Hmm.
So, unfortunately, in our country, as you know, and some of your listeners probably know, there is an underfunded research problem that we have going on in migraine. So, it's underfunded, underdiagnosed, misunderstood, and all of these things have caused migraine to also have a shortage of headache doctors in the country. So, because there are not enough clinicians to go around for all the people that have migraine disease, if you make an appointment at a physician, an example is at Mayo Clinic, where Amal Starling is on our board. I asked her, how long does it take for a new patient to get on get an appointment. She said it could take up to a year.
Right.
And so we are trying to encourage fellowship programs, and fellows are doctors in training that are getting, they're in a residency program, and then they go into a more specific specialty. And if they're going into headache medicine, then they're going into a fellowship program. And we are putting our funds into those programs in hopes that we can coax more doctors to come into being headache doctors, and also give them money, not just for their salaries, but also for doing research, which is part of their training program.
So let's talk about the events this summer, the events coming up. What are the locations, and where can people go to sign up?
So our next event will be in Cleveland. And actually I used to have them all memorized, but this is a good problem to have, that now I can't remember the event schedule. They are all on our website. We've already had, I think, 6 races so far, and so we've got a total of 18.
Okay.
But we're starting to get into our busier season, because as the weather's nicer, we tend to have more events.
Right.
And everything's on our website. And
Okay.
if we're not in a city near you, then please look at our Act Now program or our virtual program, because everybody can do what we did the first year that we had the Miles for Migraine race, was to jump into another race and get a team of people and take pictures and send them to us, and we'll put them on social media, and
right.
We want the world to know.
Right. So can you remind us the website really quick?
Yeah, it's milesformigraine.org.
Okay. And it's spelled out Miles for Migraine. It's not like,
it's not the number 4.
Okay.
F-O-R. Yeah.
Okay. And how long is the race? How long do people run or walk?
So it's funny, I'm calling it race, and I'm supposed to be calling it walk, run, or just relax, because race is a very intimidating word to people with migraine. It's great if you're a runner. So the reason we have a 5 and a 10K is because that's what we have. And we also have a 2-mile walk. And we're trying to encourage, we want the public to come, because they don't know about migraine really. And when we have runners that come to our events, invariably they always come up to me and say, oh, my aunt has migraine, and I had no idea that this was happening, and I saw this, and I wanted to do something for her. So it's a 5 and a 10K and a 2-mile walk. But we also have a tent called the Just Relax tent, where people can just, if they're not feeling well that day, they can come and hang out. And now we also have a scavenger hunt.
Okay.
Founded by an amazing volunteer. I'm going to say her name. It's Brett DeBruzzo, and she actually works for Allergan, but she volunteers for us part-time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that was going to be my next question, is if people are able to run or even walk that day, if you wake up, even if you're signed up and you thought you could run, you wake up with a migraine, what do you do? So that's when you go do the scavenger hunt or go to the tent? Right.
So we do hear from people all the time, I can't believe you're doing this, it's a trigger for me.
Okay.
I mean, listen, I can't run. It's a trigger for me.
Right.
I mean, I can walk, because walking is actually, there's research now that shows doing some form of mild exercise is a good preventive for people with migraine. But that's why we have added other events to this whole, trying to make it like a festival. We want your family to come, so that's why we do the scavenger hunt, and it's free. And if you can't do that, or you don't want to, then just come and sign up as an advocate, which means that you just show up. You can hand out medals at the end of the event, or you can just come and hang out. You don't have to do anything. We don't expect you to do anything. We just want your head. We want a head count, because we want the public to understand that we are entitled to have as much attention as any other disease. And if we don't do it, then the perception of migraine will never change. Right. And being involved, it helps us too, on any level. Being an advocate, just being involved and being around people like you, it helps you. It is so helpful. So yeah, definitely go to the website, see whether the nearest race is near you, and see what level you feel comfortable being involved in.
tell us again, it's just milesformigraine.org,
Org.
milesformigraine.org. And is there anything else you would like to tell people about Miles for Migraine before we sign off today?
I would just say that advocacy needs to be part of your treatment plan. If you're a patient with migraine, your healthcare provider may not be saying to you, oh, and by the way, here's a prescription for advocacy. But it's really the missing piece that people don't understand. And the reason it's important is because if we ever want a cure, we all have to do something little. It doesn't even have to be coming to a Miles for Migraine event. Just go online and post, a picture of something you did that's advocating for yourself, or go into a support group. I think that, whether it's Miles for Migraine or any other organization, if everybody does something small that works for them, or large, depending if, that works for you, that's how we're going to find a cure.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much, Shirley. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. And we will see you next week on Heads Up, the weekly podcast of the National Headache Foundation.